The next requirement of this exam says to implement and manage hybrid identities. Now, the concept of hybrid anything within Microsoft Azure basically is a combination of on-premises services with Microsoft Azure services. So hybrid identities is the concept of having an on-premises identity provider that integrates with Azure Active Directory. If I go into the settings option of my Active Directory, I can see Azure AD Connect as being one of the options. This screen contains a number of things that you can set up in order to implement hybrid identity. The first option is synchronization. The concept of synchronization is that you have an Active Directory, a Windows Server Active Directory on premises that already contains the user IDs and passwords and other information about all of your corporate users. You can then synchronize that information into Azure Active Directory, and in this case, Azure Active Directory becomes an extension of your already existing user ID and password model, but for the cloud. You'll see it tells me I have to download the Active Directory Connect software. So that'll take you to a page like this where you have to basically download a version of AD Connect, and basically you're going to install that inside of your network and have to set that up so that it can synchronize with the Active Directory, Azure Active Directory running in the cloud. Okay, so that is the foundation of installing and configuring AD Connect. Once you've got that going, it'll do a synchronizations, and you can basically understand that the same users that are registered in your on-premises Active Directory can then use those user ID and passwords in the cloud. And if they change their password inside of the network, then that change gets propagated into the cloud automatically. Now, it's not instantaneous, but it's fairly low latency, shall we say. Now, to take that a step further, so that's sort of the basic level of synchronization, the basic level of extending your on-premises identities into the cloud in a hybrid model. If we want to get even fancier, we can implement something called federation. Now, federation, whenever you see this word mentioned when it comes to identity, it's the concept of letting another system that is not this system handle the user IDs and the passwords. And you basically trust that system. If that person is able to log in the other system, then you can basically trust they are who they are, where they say they are. So in this case, with federation, you can, instead of synchronizing the passwords into the cloud, and then when they log into cloud, the password is checked into a cloud-based directory. If you did federation, then you would not have these users in your user table, but the authentication would be done by your on-premises server, and then it would report back that the person successfully signed in and you're able to go on and use them. So federation is almost an alternative to synchronization, because you're basically not trusting the local in this case is in the cloud copy of the passwords, but you're basically sending them to the on-premises to get authenticated. The single sign-on option is the concept of, you've already logged in. Let's say you log into your Windows computer at work and it's on the network. Then to be able to access cloud-based applications and not have to sign in, right? So the seamless part is that you do not have to put your user ID and password in every single place that you need to use it. It's the fact that the server recognizes that you're already signed in. So if we go into this option, if we had on-premises domains configured, then we could say, oh, we want to allow people who signed in using this domain for those keys are basically going to be synchronized and not the passwords, right? So those, and then pass-through authentication, again, similar to federation, is the user, instead of logging into this Active Directory, is passed through to the on-premises server or another authentication agent, and then when they successfully authenticate it, then the Azure Active Directory accepts that as being a valid thing. So these are your hybrid identity options within Microsoft Azure.